Hello, my lovely. You didn't get to where you are in your business by doing shit the way that everybody else does. And you know that what got you to where you are now is not going to get you to where you want to be. And if you are listening to this podcast, it's because you want to be the go to for what you do better than anyone else. Your brilliance is the niche. Being you, that bold, unfuckwithable presence that you've secretly been craving to set free, she is in there. And that means you will have to burn some old bridges down. And attracting your people will also repel those who are not for you. Fucking hooray. Becoming a force of nature business and brand means no more Miss People Pleaser, no more hiding your turbo brain, no more dimming down jack shit. And if you have ever been told to tone it down as a woman with ADHD, it's time to tone your shit all the way the fuck back up. That is how you create unstoppable momentum in your business and visibility that is something you've been avoiding, but that you truly want. This podcast is about stepping into your upgrade, watering down anything, never change the fucking world. You were not born to be forgettable. And as one of my all-time favorite quotes says, well-behaved women rarely make history, and nothing about you or me is well-behaved, at least not anymore. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about a few things, actually. First, I'm going to talk about how to help a brand new follower go from brand new follower to binging your content to DMing you in 3 posts flat. And I'm totally serious about that. Second, I want to have a little bit of discussion with you about not letting people who are not invested in what you're doing in your business or who don't understand why you are doing what you are doing, why you're going out on your own, why you're creating the thing you're creating. And then last but not least, I'm going to talk about why I released the episode last week that I did, which was a flashback episode to episode 100, and talk to you about that episode and growth. So, from one force of nature to another, turn the volume up to an 11, and welcome to the Feral Women's Club. Welcome back to the ADHD Entrepreneu, the podcast for feral ADHD women in business who refuse to play by the fucking rules, because fuck the rules. There aren't any. We're all just making it up as we go along anyway. So you may as well do what you want to do. My name is Carrie. I am your host, and I am the chief weirdo of my brand, Carrie Out Loud. If you are new here, welcome. I am so glad that you found the podcast. I'm so glad you're here. If this episode has any impact on you or helps you in some way, would you do me a solid, a quick favor? Actually, please do this. Subscribe and turn on the notifications. Subscribe on Apple or Spotify, and turn on the notifications, because Lord knows we love a good notification, so that you can come back every Wednesday. And then leave a 5-star rating. And on Apple, leave a review of the episode you listened to and what you took away from it, because what that does is it pushes it into the algorithm and it helps this podcast find other women like you who need it. So there's that. And if you're watching on YouTube, hi, it's good to see you. Be sure to subscribe. My approach to life and business is all about focusing on the upsides of our beautiful technicolor brains and our advantages, while also really truly acknowledging that there are parts that are difficult, that they're very real, but they're also manageable. And I do not see ADHD as a disability. I know that ADHD women can do whatever they put their fucking minds to, period. So if that's not your jam, I may not be your jam, and that is totally okay. I am not offended at all. But if you share my point of view, stick around. Let's get into it. Let's talk about how can you walk a brand new follower, somebody who has just found your Instagram page, from being someone who doesn't know anything about you all the way to being able to clearly understand how to hire you and come into your DMs, right? Because a lot of times it takes a while for people to warm up. but I'm going to talk to you about tofu, mofu, bofu. So, tofu, mofu, bofu, tofu, not meaning the food. This means top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. And I do not love the word funnel because we're people, right? I'm not a fan of that. However, you have to understand that on your Instagram, on your social media, there are three types of people. There's people who just found you, that's bottom of funnel. There are people who've been there for a little while who are figuring out if they want to work with you, that's middle of funnel. And then there are people who have credit card in hand and they're basically ready to hire you. That is bottom of funnel. So, what we're going to talk about today is top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel in 3 posts, 3 pinned posts. So, I want you to think about this. When you go to any website, what are the 3 things that you see? You see about us or our story, right? You see shop our products, shop our services, click here to shop, any of those type of things. And then you see reviews or testimonials or, those type of things when you're on, like say you're on Amazon, you're a product, and then there's all those reviews, right? So you usually see those 3 things on any website. So when you do this for your pinned posts, when somebody lands on your page, they can look at those top 3 posts and know exactly what you're about, who you help, and see that other people have worked with you. And I'm going to get to that testimonial, the testimonial piece of content in a moment, because there's a little bit extra that I want you to make sure that you're doing there. So you want to create an about me post that is infused with your gloriousness. Like I want it dripping with you. So if you want to do fun facts, great. If you want to be a little bit more professional, great. It has to be of you, right? So that the person coming, the person reading it gets a real true feel of who you are. You can go to my Instagram at Carry Out Loud and take a look at my about me post. And you'll see kind of how I created mine, but you definitely are going to want to make it your own. The second post is work with me. One of the things that I see across the board that is so often missed when somebody is in growth mode in their business is it is not clear how to hire them. Even in the link in their bio or in their content, it's like, where do I even fucking go to hire this person, right? So when you create a work with me post, you would create it as one single image, literally say, how to work with me in 2025. Here's how to work with me with an arrow pointing down. And then it's just a single slide. And then in the caption, you would drop your current services, what services you offer, and essentially a little blurb about who they're for. And the cool thing about this is once you've pinned it, if any of your services change, if you update, if you upgrade, you just go in and edit that post and it stays there all year. So that's number 2. Number 3 is testimonials. But here's the caveat. Please give your testimonials context. When you just throw up a testimonial, that's great, but the person reading it doesn't know where that person started and where that person got while they were working with you, or where they're at in the process of working with you. And so when you give examples of testimonials where you give context, like when this client came to me, they XYZ and I helped them X and Y and Z, and then here's where they are at now, right? Show a little bit of the transformation of actual clients who are working with you. When you do that with context, it helps the reader put themselves in the shoes of somebody working with you. Now, top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel content is something you definitely want to have in your grid. And if you have any questions about that, let me know. I have a document that really explains this in detail. So if you want that, I'm happy to give it to you. But if you think about it, these 3 posts are top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. Top of funnel is about us. It's your story. It's talking about you, right? This is the introduction. Top of funnel is somebody brand new to you, right? Middle of funnel, your services, what that looks like, how to actually inquire about your services. Because the thing that you may not realize is, well, you may realize this, but it just isn't in the forefront of your mind. Every single person who does what you do on Instagram has a different process for being hired. Some people have applications, some don't. Some people sell in the DMs, some people sell in clarity calls, right? So you want to make it so ridiculously crystal clear how they can hire you for each of those offers in that caption. That's two. That's middle of funnel. Bottom of funnel is testimonials. That's seeing other people who have worked with you and where they started and what their outcome is. That's bottom of funnel. So top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, right there at the top of your grid. It is just something that will stop you from leaving money on the table. Because if somebody comes to you, or yes, will people DM you maybe and ask you about how to work with you? Sure. But why not make sure that they have all the information right there, and then they can take a look at it and figure out how they want to work with you? And I'll tell you, so often, like I said, people are binging your content silently, and they convince themselves to work with you before you've even said a word to them. And I'm telling you, it happens all the time, because the people who are taking action, they don't have time necessarily to sit around and comment, whatever. If they're growing their business, if they're needing something very specific, and or they're needing something that you do, and they are just digging your vibe, digging your content, binging your content, watching your stories, there'll just be a moment where they come into your DMs and say, I'm really curious about XYZ. It'll blow your fucking mind. So if you do not have those 3 posts, please, for the love of all that's holy, do yourself that favor and do that. It's just a way to simplify it for the client. The end. And you get to have fun with it. Absolutely have fun with it. Okay. Next thing I wanted to share about. This is something that has been coming up this past week, and it came up with more than one person. And so usually when something comes on my radar more than a couple of times, I want to talk about it on the podcast, because I'm sure that there are those of you listening who are like, yep, that's me too, right? So a couple of my clients were talking about how, one she has a job, but she wants to create something of her own as well. And this is a common story, so I'm not going to really give out any information like who this person is, right? But this topic came up with a couple people, so I'll just kind of make this a little bit more generic. When you have an idea for your business, or you have an idea, something that you want to do, even if you have a 9-to-5, even if you have a day job and you just wanted to create something of your own, and you talk to people around you who are neurotypical, in the box, don't understand why you would give up something quote unquote stable for going and doing your own thing. They can't imagine it, or they tell you, oh, your idea, that doesn't sound like a good idea, or that is not something that anybody needs, blah, 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 blah. They are committed to misunderstanding you. They don't want to understand. And it's not their fault, right? In society, we're taught 9-to-5 jobs are steady and stable, and that's what you should be doing. And you go to work and you work until the end of time, and then you retire, and then you have fun and you have a life. And I'm just here to tell you, fuck that shit. It's bullshit, right? Those are linear thinkers. Those are people who can't fathom why you'd want to go and work for yourself when you could stay where you are, because their little brains don't get it. Like, that is not a risk they would be willing to take. But think about all of the things that would not be in the world had somebody not said, this is something I can't find. I'm going to make it myself. How do you think cars came to be? How do you think TV came to be? How do you think computers, the internet, how do you think anything that we have in our world that has evolved us, where the fuck do you think it comes from? An idea in someone's head, and they went, yes, this one, let's do it, right? My favorite example is Spanx. Sarah Blakely, she wanted pantyhose, but without the pantyhose. So she went, I guess, into a dressing room and just cut the pantyhose part off and kept the top part where it like sucked her in, and ta-da, $1 billion brand eventually, right? And so that was just a moment where she saw a need for herself. And then she's like, I'm probably not the only one who needs this, right? And that became a massive brand. And there's story after story after story like that. I'll give you kind of my personal example is really, I haven't seen programs out there, masterminds, high level things for people with ADHD, especially late diagnosed women, right? And I'm like, after hearing human after human that I know saying, yeah, I've been in group programs, but I don't feel like I can put my hand up because I feel like anything I'm going to say is like, oh, she's weird. Like I've heard that so many times. So people will, like my clients will have invested in other, in other coaches or other programs, and they didn't get what they needed out of it because they felt like it was too difficult for them to ask for the help that they needed because they didn't want to be perceived as weird or perceived as out there, or perceived as odd, or they have a Ferrari brain and it's just like boop, 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 boop. Everything's like going so quickly because when you have combined type ADHD like me, and even combined type, we're like more externally that kind of hyper, like lots, very wordy, all that stuff. But if you have the ADHD inattentive type, all of that is going on inside of your body, right? The inattentiveness is there, but really you still have that Ferrari brain. It's more internalized, right? So this is something that I really need you to understand, is that there are people who aren't going to get it. There are people who aren't going to get it. And so it is key and it is important to find and surround yourself with the people who are like really, really going to listen to you, understand kind of what your bigger mission is or what it is you want to create, and who are like, dude, my dude, that's awesome. I had somebody do a clarity call with me just this past week, and they had passed this idea by a couple of people and just got like a lot of naysayers. And I saw her idea and I'm like, holy shit, this is so good. I mean, her idea is really fucking fantastic. And sadly, I was told that I'm the first person who told her that. But I have 25 years of business experience. I understand what her mission is and why she wants to do this thing. And I'm like, my friend, let me at your business. like, let's fucking go, right? So you need somebody who has a brain similar to yours, who understands what you want and where you're going. And you have got to tune out people who are just used to being in society as it's built. That is not our design. And we've spent a lot of years, a lot of us, conforming to try, unmasking to try to fit in or to go with the flow, when that's not what we're here to do. We're here to disrupt. We're here to break rules. We're here to take the things we see in a different way or in a different light and bring them into the light. That's how some of the most incredible businesses and products and all that jazz come to be, right? So if you are in that place where there are people around you who just don't get it, they're like just committed to not understanding why you don't want to sit at a desk at a 9-to-5 job that's quote unquote secure, because that's what they think it is. Like nothing is secure, right? It's like pick your hard, pick your difficult. You're, on one hand, it's difficult to sit at a desk and do a day job for other people when it's like the bane of your existence. And then there's difficult that comes with being a business owner or an entrepreneur. But I'm telling you, a majority of people with ADHD would rather have their own thing and that type of hard and be the risk takers, because we are that. We are risk takers. We are not adverse to heading towards things when most people are walking away. We see so many solutions when other people see walls. Like we're literally designed to do business. It's like an entrepreneurial gene. It's something in us innately where we don't want to do what the rest of the world thinks we're supposed to do. And it's not a bad thing. It's a really good thing, because that's how new things come into the world, because somebody thought of it in their brain and went, yep, gonna totally do that, right? So please, when it comes to your business, surround yourself with and talk to people who get it. who understand what you're doing, who understand why you want to do it, and get their support. Because they're going to first be like, you're crazy. What are you doing? And then when it works, they're going to be like, how'd you do it? Right? That's just how it is. It's just like, tell me how you did it. It's like, not with your help or support, and now you want to know? Yeah. So not to be an asshole or to be too sarcastic, but that does happen too. It's like, oh my gosh, you actually made it work. This little business, whatever that is. So screw that. Don't allow people like that to live rent free in your head. And if there is something that keeps coming into your mind over and over and over again, either in the business that you already have or an idea that has been festering for years, there's a reason why it's still in there. So fucking go for it. Okay. And last but not least, let's talk about last week's episode. So I was looking for an episode last week because I needed to take a moment. My business is really growing. I'm doing a lot of things kind of behind the scenes, and I just needed a little week catch up there. So sometimes I think I've probably done this less than 10 times. I'll do a flashback episode. So I was going and looking for a flashback episode, and I went to episode 100, and I'm like, this probably be good. I'm going to go listen to this. And I started listening to it, and I was like, who is that? It was like a little over a year ago. And at that point, I hadn't had my client give me the reflection that finally helped me fling the last parts of my masking off and just allow myself to be. And so I was listening to last week's episode and I was like, oh my gosh, man, I've grown. Holy crap. At that time, I was talking about how unmasked I was. And I'm listening to it now. I'm like, no, honey, you aren't. No, you're not fully unmasked yet. But I was a lot more unmasked and a lot more of myself at that point. But I wanted to put that out last week so that you also come back this week and hear this episode so you can hear the difference. Because the other thing is, I didn't even know how much of a difference it was until I listened to it. I don't go back and listen to old episodes all the time. I definitely have certain episodes bookmarked for clients because I have my real-time diagnosis in there. I have when I changed the podcast to the ADHD Entrepreneur, there's a couple of just key episodes that sometimes I'll recommend to people, but I don't go back and listen to a ton of my episodes. So when I was listening to it, I was like, oh my God, holy crap. It made me want to cry. It made me excited because I've worked so hard to let go of how I think I'm supposed to be or what the definition of professional is. Because to be clear, so many people, that's the word is so fucking subjective. What does professional mean? It means different things to different people. So why don't you just be who you are and allow the people who are attracted to that and who love those parts of you? Why not allow yourself to be free so that they can find you? And yes, it is easier said than done, but start the fucking process. Please do yourself the favor and start the process because the key is in your hand. Turn inside. Everything you need is in there. It comes down to making a decision to start setting yourself free and taking little steps that set yourself free. Because I would not be here where I am right now today. I mean, you can go back into the very beginning episodes of this podcast. You'll just be like, holy balls, it's so different. But I heard this saying on Instagram, the fish is the last to see the ocean. And I'm like, damn fucking Skippy. That is so, so true. We cannot necessarily see our own growth. But sometimes we have this moments where the universe will let us in on it and let us see it. So I just wanted to encourage you this week to go into your Instagram or go into an email or go into a blog post or go into a podcast episode, whatever it is from a year ago and look at it, read it, and see how far you've come. Because if you don't think you have made any forward motion or you haven't grown or changed, going and looking at something from a year ago is going to give you a very different perspective. And so that was why I released that particular episode, because it did talk a little bit about my history, my origin story, and all that. But it showed the stark difference that I laugh. I think I put it in like a piece of content, 400 and something days. It's a little bit over a year, but what a difference it's made. And I am so much more confident in my business. My content is so much more clear and confident and full of conviction. I have more of my dreamiest fuck yes clients finding me than I've ever had before. And it was because I finally just let my feral ass out of the cage and stop thinking that, oh, this person's going to judge me and that person's look, we judge, right? That's an electrical impulse. It doesn't mean necessarily that we mean it. So if we can't even control that in ourselves, how can somebody else control it? Again, electrical impulse. So who fucking cares if somebody's going to judge you for it? Also, I know easier said than done, but the more you do it and the more you show up fully as your most genuine you, your most genuine self. Because if you came up to me while I was walking down the street, or you come on to a call with me as a client, or you came and hung out with me and had lunch, or you came to the gym with me, or whatever, it's the same human being. When I was undiagnosed and I was masked, it was that chameleon effect where it's like you are different ways with different people because you're trying to please each person. And that's exhausting, my friend. That is so exhausting. I wondered why I was fucking tired all the time. From being 20 different people a week, perhaps. You know, I used to not swear in front of my mom and my stepmom. I used to not swear in front of my mother-in-law. I used to not swear in front of certain people. I am fucking sweary. There's swears inside of my programs. There's swears inside of my newsletter. The F-bomb gets thrown around like it's fucking punctuation around here. And if I'm like that for real, and I put on a different persona, forward facing, anybody who starts talking to me for any amount of time is going to be like shocked. They're going to be like, what the fuck? That's not the same person, right? So really just allowing yourself to do that. And what I don't mean is put every area of your life on the internet. That is not what I'm saying at all. But when you show up, allow that genuine you to show up, whether that's sweary, whether that's soft spoken, but powerful, whether that's fucking hilarious. Like I just recently started having what I call KOL at night, right? Carry out loud at night. And after 5 o'clock, there's no business on my Instagram anymore. It goes into feral mode and I post sweary stuff, dirty stuff. I don't give a shit, right? Because that is me. It is who I am day in and day out. Why hold it back? I'm sorry. There's things that are just funny. You know, like I saw this. I might have to try to find it and link it in the show notes, but it's like, I can't even believe I'm going to say this out loud. It's like, if I had a dick, I would take a piece of popcorn and see if I could fling it into my mouth. And I was like, oh my God, that's hilarious. Right. And I shared that. And a bunch of other people laughed too. So, like, that's my sense of humor. Like, it's like a 17-year-old boy half the time, right? So, why am I going to hide that part of myself? It is who I am. And it's only taken me 52 years to get here. But I'm so proud of all of the times where I took that next chance, where I took that next opportunity to go outside of my box. So I took the next opportunity to pull down another mask and to just allow myself to be. And it took time. It took time to still figure out who I was even in the first place, because when you mask so much for so long, you don't even quite know who you are at certain points. And there's nothing wrong with that. But turn inside and figure it out. It's really fucking important to let yourself do that. Because when you do that, the parts and pieces that words are hard. The parts and pieces that don't belong to you will start to fall away. And the rest that is left is that self that you have always been, the self that you were before the world got to you. And if you set her free, it's life-changing. Ooh, I'm going to get emotional. It'll change your life. It really will. And it will change your business. It will change how you move through the world, I am more confident and comfortable in my skin and with my clients than I've ever been. And it feels magical when you get there. And it's always an evolving process, right? We're always setting ourselves free just a little bit more. But I just hope that you can take away from this to allow yourself to do that, to allow yourself to be free, because that is when you find the people in your world who really want to be there, who adore everything you do, who talk about your name in rooms of opportunity where you are not. They will evangelize for you and talk about you with people who may need your services, etc. And so the more that you can do that for yourself, the easier your life will get. Said with so much love. If you haven't started that process, if you feel constrained, if you feel like you're still holding back, do me a favor. Go on your stories today, create a piece of content today that has something a little bit outside of your box, and just hit send. You're not going to lose an arm. Your house isn't going to burn down. Nobody's going to die, right? That's how you start to get out of the box, is take those little steps. And when you take little steps over and over again, it compounds over time and it becomes all of you and your clients and the world. And you need all of you. I love you. And with that, I'm going to end today's episode. If you would like to book a free clarity call with me, my contact info is in the show notes. They're 30 minutes. I ask you questions to be sure I'm clear on what you need in your business. And if I can help you, we go from there. And I am not a sit on your head kind of person. We're all grown-ups here. I give you your options based on your needs. And then the next part is in your hands. If you love this episode, please tell everyone in your business sisterhood. Send me a note by carrier pigeon. Drop it into the DMs and let me know what you got out of the episode. One of my core values is truly connection. And I really do love hearing from the people who listen to the podcast. So I would love to hear from you. Until next time, I see you. I love you. I'm fucking rooting for you always. Stay untamed. Stay feral. Get the fuck out of the cage. Okay? I love you. Bye. Oh, hey, you're still here. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. Be sure to check out the show notes for all the ways to follow me. And of course, my goal is to find and help as many women with ADHD get away from the 9-to-5 grind, because it's just not designed for our neurospicy brilliance, and there are other ways to do life. So by subscribing, sharing, and giving a 5-star review, it helps other women find this podcast as well. And if there's an episode you really love, please feel free to take a screenshot and share it on your social and tag me in it so that I can thank you personally. Until next time, you spicy brained unicorn. Bye.